singers. And then there was Michael Jackson, a voice that could whisper like silk, cry like thunder, and soar beyond what anyone thought the human voice could do. These weren't just performances, they were emotional earthquakes. And sometimes, when he sang, it was as if he forgot he was human. And we did too. This is one of those moments. Most people remember Mottown 25 for one reason: Billie Jean and the birth of the moonwalk. But if you were really paying attention, the moment Michael reunited with his brothers and sang "Never Can Say Goodbye," something even more haunting happened.
Though the pain and heartaches seem to follow me wherever I go, though I try to hide my feelings, they always seem to show. And you try to steal it in me, and I always have to say no. Tell me why. Is it so?
This wasn't the high-pitched boy wonder from the 70s. This was a man, older, wiser, and cracked open by the weight of everything he had seen. His voice carried years of distance, fame, pressure, and a longing to return to where it all started. As soon as he hit that first sustained note, the air changed. He wasn't just singing a lyric. He was reliving a memory. The tone was richer, deeper. There was a weathered ache in his falsetto, like he was trying to hold on to something that had already slipped through his fingers. And when he closed his eyes mid-phrase, you could almost see it. He was back in that studio, a kid with headphones too big for his head, singing about heartbreak he hadn't even experienced yet. Now, he knew what heartbreak meant. No dance break, no spectacle, just Michael, and a voice that time had carved into something far more powerful. In that moment, it wasn't nostalgia, it was resurrection. And for 5 short minutes, we were all reminded, this man wasn't just a performer, he was a vessel. There are performances, and then there are moments that feel like a sacred ceremony. Michael Jackson's tribute to Sammy Davis Jr. in 1989 wasn't flashy, it wasn't loud, but it may have been the purest, most heartfelt vocal performance he ever gave in public.
Yes, I am you were there.
The occasion was monumental, Sammy's 60th anniversary in show business. The audience was filled with legends, the pressure was real. But Michael didn't flinch, he didn't moonwalk, he didn't even move much. He walked on stage in all white, head bowed, hands folded, as if stepping into a temple. His voice floated out like a quiet prayer, low at first, reverent. You were there before we came. But then something started to rise, a force behind the voice, not volume, but vulnerability. His tone turned glassy, his breath staggered not from nerves, but from emotion. Each note seemed like it hurt to sing, and that's what made it powerful. You could hear his heart cracking open in real time. By the time he reached the climax, holding the final notes like a whispered goodbye, even the toughest legends in the room had their heads down. Michael wasn't trying to impress anyone. He was offering a piece of his soul to a man who paved the way. And in those final seconds, as he stared out into the lights, it felt like he wasn't on stage anymore. He was somewhere else, higher, untouchable. He wasn't just honoring greatness, he became it. On the Dangerous World Tour, Michael performed to seas of people. But during I Just Can't Stop Loving You, the entire stadium would fall into silence. because what happened vocally was nothing short of divine.
It's a heartache. Tell me,
The music would slow, the lights dim, and then, like magic, Michael's voice would emerge, fragile, breathy, soft. This wasn't a song anymore. It was a conversation with someone invisible. He danced with his voice. He stretched it, bent it, whispered, and then exploded into full cry. His vocal runs weren't rehearsed. They felt spontaneous. And the falsetto? It wasn't perfect. It cracked. It shook. And that's what made it real. By the end, when he hit that signature, "I just can't stop," and let the word loving echo across the crowd, thousands of people screamed. And yet, it felt deeply, painfully intimate. In a tour full of spectacle, this was the moment Michael stripped it all back and gave us his heart. When Michael launched into Lovely One during the Bad Tour in Yokohama, it wasn't just about energy, it was about precision. His vocals were sharp, fast, and full of rhythmic stabs, like vocal drum hits.
just say you are, just say bye, just say you are, just say you are, say you are.
Most singers would have been out of breath within 30 seconds. Michael? He was singing in bursts while dancing full out, moving like his bones were electric. But listen closely. Behind the funk groove and punching delivery, he was hitting complex vocal syncopations, hard stops, glide notes, yelps, and scatting that rivaled jazz masters. It wasn't just singing, it was vocal athleticism, and yet it sounded effortless. In Yokohama, he made Lovely One into a sprint, a fast-paced, impossible vocal performance where no syllable was wasted and every breath was perfectly timed. It's the kind of vocal work you only notice when you try to sing along and fail. When Michael performed Man in the Mirror at the 1988 Grammys, he didn't try to upstage anyone. He just stood there and sang the truth.
Come on, everybody, man in the mirror.
At first, it was quiet. His voice trembled slightly, raw, even hesitant. But by the second verse, something ignited. He started believing it. As the choir joined him, Michael transformed. His eyes closed, his fists clenched. He shouted each line like a sermon from the depths of his soul. He wasn't performing anymore, he was pleading. By the final chorus, he held nothing back. His voice cracked, screamed, broke, healed, all in one note. It was messy, it was holy. And when the music stopped, there was a moment of silence before the explosion of applause, because everyone in that room knew they had just witnessed something real. Most fans know the smooth, studio-polished "Rock With You," but if you've ever heard him do it live on the Bad Tour in Yokohama, you know that was a whole different beast. Gone was the disco slickness. This was rougher, grittier, sexier. He sang like he was inside the groove, bending notes like light in a prism. His falsetto floated above the bass line, and then, without warning, he'd slam into a growl or break the melody just to feel it. It wasn't a performance for radio, it was for the soul. And somehow, even while dancing, sweating, and lighting the stage on fire, his voice never missed. He wasn't singing over the music. He was the music. Buried deep in the Jacksons' catalog is one of Michael's most vocally underrated moments, "Different Kind of Lady." He didn't just sing on this track, he attacked it. The vocal layering is dense, harmonies stacked like bricks. But somehow, Michael's voice cuts through, dancing over synths and snapping drums with perfect syncopation. His range on this track is insane. He dips into his chest voice, flips into falsetto, growls, screams, and somehow never sounds out of control. This is Michael, the producer, the architect, the vocal engineer. And the fact that it was tucked away, almost forgotten, shows just how casually he could deliver genius. If there's one song that shows Michael's voice as a weapon of pure emotion, it's Earth Song. And nowhere did it hit harder than Brunei, 1996. He screamed like the world was ending, and in a way, it was. This was a cry for help, a warning. But this wasn't an act. It was a man who felt everything, too much, too deeply. You could hear the planet's pain in his growls. His vibrato shook like a wounded animal, and when he fell to his knees, clutching the microphone like it was the last thing tethering him to Earth, you couldn't breathe. He didn't just perform Earth Song, he bled it. Even at the end, in the "This Is It" rehearsals, Michael's voice hadn't lost its magic. In fact, it had only gotten more human. He was tired, you could hear it, but his tone, still crystal, still sincere. He hummed, improvised, changed keys mid-phrase, and it all still sounded like Michael Jackson. More than anything, it showed us that his gift wasn't something you could rehearse. It was built in. He wasn't trying to be perfect anymore. He was just trying to feel the music one last time. In 2001, at the 30th anniversary celebration, Michael stepped back into a time machine. "I'll Be There" was one of the first songs that made the world realize this little boy had something special. And now, decades later, he stood on stage, older, quieter, scarred. The opening lines felt like a promise, but not to a lover, to his fans, his family, himself. Each note was slower, more deliberate. He wasn't rushing to prove anything. He was simply remembering. And when his voice cracked on the final line, "Just call my name, and I'll be there," you could feel the years wash over the room like a wave. It wasn't just nostalgia, it was goodbye. Michael Jackson didn't just hit notes, he lived them, he hurt with them, he healed with them, and sometimes, when he opened his mouth, he reminded us that some voices don't belong to this world. These were the 10 times Michael Jackson forgot he was human, and maybe that's why we'll never forget him.